Alright, let's go ahead and go over this problem. If you recognize, put your fingers in the air. What is your GCF? If you just factor out of 4, you would have been left with a squared minus 3a plus 2. And then, inside the parentheses, say that. This is your A, B, and C. A is 1. B is -3, and C is 2. If you forget, you can always put standard form of quadratics right above it. And then we'll go ahead and do our X in our box. A times C is
2.
B value is
-2.
Two numbers that multiply to be 2. 2 and 1. Two numbers that add to be -3. -2 and -1. Sorry, my marker's not good. Okay. Then if you use your X box, you're going to have -2a and a -1a. First term, a squared. C value is 2. GCF?
A. 2.
Instruction?
1.
-1, right? And then you can multiply to check your answers. See that? Okay. The answer is not a minus 1, a plus 2. You have to include that GCF, and this is your answer. Raise your hand if you got that. Now I want to show you how math is wonderful, because it's forgiving. If you neglect it and can't consider it and have feelings for it, it'll still come back and say it's okay. So in this problem, that's a 12. Let's just say you don't see the GCF. Then you're just basically doing the same problem, but your numbers are larger. Let's see what happens. Class, A times C. B value? Two numbers that multiply to be 32, but they add to be -12. -8 and so I'll add the A variable. First term is 4a squared. Class, what's the GCF? Just say student speak. Well, none of these could be negative. So if you're doing this, never have negative. So 4a. How about this one, class?
4a, 2a.
But it's 4a times something equals a squared. Ah, you see that? What's your GCF here? Remember, you can always do, well, it's a -8, right? -8 times a is -8a. How about this one? -1? Let's check. 4a times a is 4a squared. 4a times -1. A times -8. -8 times -1. Positive. So my answers are on the top here. Doesn't matter which order you write them in. 4a minus 8, a minus 1. This would give you partial credit, because you need to recognize that in here there's a greatest common factor. What's the greatest common factor there? 4. 4 times a minus 2, a minus 1. Something's wrong. Look, I know something's wrong. What'd you guys do? Where? Left side? This is a box. Oh, up here? How come you guys didn't say anything? That's correct. Negative 2 times a is negative 2a. Negative times negative is positive. So, did we get the same answer?
No. Oh, wait.
I can just switch those around, right? Commutative property of multiplication. So, big idea is this. Which problem was easier to work with? Top or the bottom?
Top.
But I had to look for a what first? Look for the greatest common factor first.